The laughter started small, like a whisper of mockery in the back of the grand ballroom, but within seconds it grew into a roar that filled every corner of the Global Tech Summit. Nia Thompson stood frozen near the service door, her hand still gripping the handle of her yellow mop bucket, as 2,000 of the world's most powerful technology leaders pointed at her and laughed. On the massive stage, billionaire CEO Hiroshi Tanaka held the microphone, his expensive suit perfectly tailored, his smile cruel and wide as he gestured toward her with theatrical flourish. "Perhaps our cleaning staff would like to attempt the challenge," he said, his accent crisp and his tone dripping with contempt. "After all, if the problem is so simple that anyone could solve it, surely even someone who mops floors could become an overnight billionaire." The audience erupted again. Nia felt her face burn with humiliation as cameras turned toward her, as phones lifted to capture her shame, as the most brilliant minds in technology treated her like a joke. She was wearing her plain gray uniform with her name stitched on the pocket, her natural hair pulled back in a simple bun, her brown skin glowing under the harsh lights of the conference center. She had been emptying trash cans when the presentation began, trying to be invisible, trying to do her job without disturbing anyone. Now she was the center of attention for all the wrong reasons. Hiroshi continued, playing to his audience like a comedian who had found the perfect punchline. "I am serious about my offer. $800 million to anyone who can solve the quantum computing problem I have presented today. Anyone at all." He paused, letting his eyes sweep across the ballroom before landing back on Nia. "Even you, if you think you can do mathematics instead of mopping." More laughter. More phones recording. More shame pressing down on her shoulders like physical weight. But something inside Nia shifted in that moment. Something that had been sleeping for 3 long years suddenly woke up. She thought about her mother lying in a hospital bed, about the medical bills that kept growing, about the dream she had buried when life fell apart. She thought about the nights she spent reading quantum physics textbooks in the library after her janitorial shift ended, about the equations she still solved in her head while cleaning toilets, about everything she had lost and everything she still secretly was. And she made a decision. Nia set down her mop bucket, straightened her shoulders and began walking toward the stage. The laughter died slowly, replaced by confused murmuring as the janitor in the gray uniform crossed the ballroom floor with steady steps. She did not look down. She did not hesitate. She walked right up to the stage stairs and began climbing them, her sneakers quiet on the carpeted steps, her heart pounding but her face calm. Hiroshi's smile faltered as she approached. He had not expected this. Nobody had expected this. Nia took the microphone from his hand with gentle firmness and turned to face the audience of elite technology leaders, venture capitalists, and corporate executives who had been laughing at her moments before. "I accept your challenge," she said, her voice steady and clear through the sound system. "And I will solve your impossible problem. Have you ever been underestimated because of how you look or where you work? Have you felt the sting of being dismissed before anyone knew your story? This is what happened to Nia, and what happens next will shock you. If this story speaks to you, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to prove yourself against impossible odds?" The morning had started normally enough for Nia Thompson. She woke at 5 in the morning in her small studio apartment in the affordable part of town, made herself instant coffee, and put on her gray janitorial uniform with the cleaning company logo on the back. She brushed her teeth while reviewing quantum mechanics formulas she had written on index cards taped to her bathroom mirror. She ate a piece of toast while reading a research paper on her old laptop. Then she caught the bus to the downtown convention center where the Global Tech Summit was being held. She had worked as a janitor for 3 years now, ever since her life had fallen apart. The pay was enough to cover rent and groceries, with a little left over to send to her mother's care facility. The work was honest and simple. She cleaned floors, emptied trash, wiped down surfaces, and tried not to think too much about the life she used to have. But today was different. Today, the Global Tech Summit had brought together the most powerful people in technology, and Nia found herself cleaning the same conference rooms where brilliant minds discussed the future. She told herself it did not bother her. She told herself she had made peace with her circumstances. She had been lying to herself. The main presentation hall was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting bright, clean light across rows of plush seats. Massive screens displayed the Tanaka Corporation logo in brilliant blue and silver. Nia had been assigned to clean the side corridors during the presentations, staying out of sight, making sure the trash bins near the doors were empty. She had been doing exactly that when Hiroshi Tanaka took the stage. Even from the service area, Nia could see him clearly on the screens. He was a striking man in his mid-40s with sharp features, perfectly styled black hair, and the kind of confidence that came from being worth billions. He wore a dark blue suit that probably cost more than Nia made in a year. His company, Tanaka Corporation, was one of the largest technology firms in the world, specializing in computing hardware and artificial intelligence. "Ladies and gentlemen," Hiroshi began, his voice smooth and commanding. "Today I present to you the future of computing. But this future comes with a challenge." The screens behind him changed, displaying complex mathematical equations that made Nia's breath catch. She recognized them immediately. Quantum algorithms. Specifically, a variation of quantum error correction that researchers had been struggling with for years. "I am offering $800 million, Hiroshi continued, "to anyone who can solve this problem. It is considered impossible by current standards. My team has been working on it for 5 years with no success. I throw down this challenge to the brightest minds in our industry. Prove me wrong. Solve the impossible. Become very, very rich." The audience murmured with excitement. $800 million was an enormous sum, even in this room full of wealthy people. But more than that, solving this problem would mean revolutionizing quantum computing. It would mean changing the world. Nia stared at the equations on the screen, her mind already working through the problem. She saw the patterns, the possibilities, the approaches that might work. Her fingers itched to write, to calculate, to test theories. This was the kind of problem she used to dream about solving back at MIT, back when she was a promising graduate student with a bright future. That was when Hiroshi spotted her. She had moved too close to the main doors, too visible in her gray uniform with her yellow mop bucket. His eyes landed on her, and something cruel flickered across his face. He saw an opportunity for entertainment, for a demonstration of how truly difficult his challenge was. "Perhaps our cleaning staff would like to attempt the challenge," he said into the microphone, and everything changed. Now, standing on the stage with the microphone in her hand and 2,000 faces staring at her in shock, Nia felt a strange sense of calm. She had nothing to lose. Her pride had already been stripped away by 3 years of janitorial work while her brilliant mind went unused. Her dreams had already died when she dropped out of MIT to take care of her sick mother. Her dignity had already been tested 1,000 times by people who looked at her uniform instead of seeing her. What was one more humiliation compared to all of that? Except this time she was not going to accept the humiliation. This time she was going to fight back. "I accept your challenge," she repeated, looking directly at Hiroshi Tanaka. $800 million to solve your quantum computing problem. I will do it." Hiroshi's expression was complicated. Amusement, confusion, and something that might have been regret all mixed together. He had not meant for this to go so far. He had made a joke, expecting the janitor to shrink away in embarrassment. Instead she had called his bluff. "You understand what you are agreeing to?" he asked, his voice softer now that the microphone was gone. "This is not a simple problem. The greatest minds in quantum physics have failed to solve it." "I understand perfectly," Nia said. "I also understand that you made a public offer. $800 million to anyone who solves it." "You said anyone. You pointed at me specifically. So either you honor your word, or you admit in front of all these people that you were just making fun of a janitor for entertainment." The silence in the ballroom was absolute. Every eye was on the stage. Every phone was recording. Hiroshi Tanaka had been backed into a corner by someone he had dismissed as beneath his notice. To his credit, he did not try to escape. "Very well," he said loud enough for the front rows to hear. He took back the microphone and addressed the audience. "It seems we have our first official challenger. The cleaning staff member has accepted the terms. She will have 30 days to present a solution. If her solution works, she will receive the full prize amount." He turned back to Nia and she saw something new in his eyes. Respect perhaps. Or maybe just curiosity about what would happen next. "What is your name?" he asked. "Nia Thompson." "Well, Miss Thompson, I look forward to seeing what you can do. My assistant will provide you with the full problem specifications and access to our research portal. Good luck. You will need it." Nia descended from the stage with her head high, very aware of the whispers that followed her, the camera still recording, the mixture of shock and amusement rippling through the crowd. She retrieved her mop bucket from where she had left it and walked out of the ballroom, her hands steady even though her heart was racing. She had just agreed to solve an impossible problem in 30 days. She had just put herself on a stage in front of the entire technology world. She had just accepted a challenge from a billionaire who had humiliated her. And somehow, despite everything, Nia felt more alive than she had in 3 years. By the time her shift ended that evening, the video had gone viral. "Janitor accepts billionaire's $800 million challenge," was trending on every social media platform. News outlets were picking up the story. Technology blogs were analyzing the quantum problem and declaring it unsolvable. Comments ranged from supportive to cruel, from people cheering for her to people calling her delusional. Nia ignored all of it. She went home to her small apartment, made herself a simple dinner of rice and vegetables, and opened her laptop. The Tanaka Corporation portal credentials had arrived in her email, along with a message from Hiroshi's assistant providing the complete problem specifications. She downloaded everything and began to read. The problem was even more complex than she had thought from the glimpse on the presentation screen. It involved quantum error correction across multiple qubit systems, with variables that seemed to resist every traditional approach. No wonder Tanaka's team had spent 5 years without success. But Nia had something they did not have. She had spent 3 years thinking about problems like this while mopping floors, her mind free to wander through theoretical spaces while her hands performed simple, repetitive tasks. She had read every new paper published on quantum computing, studied every approach, considered angles that full-time researchers might have dismissed as impractical. She had nothing but time and an unused brilliant mind. Now she finally had a reason to use it. Nia worked until 2 in the morning, filling notebook pages with equations, testing approaches, discarding failures. When she finally fell into bed, her dreams were full of quantum states and probability fields, of solutions dancing just beyond her reach. She woke 4 hours later and started again. The 30-day countdown had begun. The quantum computing problem that Hiroshi Tanaka had offered $800 million to solve was known in academic circles as the coherence paradox. It dealt with maintaining quantum coherence across large-scale qubit arrays while simultaneously correcting errors faster than decoherence could occur. In simple terms, it was like trying to keep 1,000 butterflies flying in perfect formation during a hurricane while also healing their wings faster than the wind could damage them. Researchers had been attempting to solve variations of this problem for over a decade. Every approach led to the same dead end. The correction mechanisms themselves introduced new errors faster than they could fix the original ones. It was a frustrating loop that had caused several prominent physicists to declare the problem fundamentally unsolvable with current theoretical frameworks. Hiroshi had invested hundreds of millions into research on this problem because solving it would allow quantum computers to scale up dramatically, making them practical for everyday applications instead of just specialized research. Whoever solved it would not just win the prize money. They would change the entire technology industry. Nia understood all of this as she sat in the public library 3 days after accepting the challenge, surrounded by borrowed textbooks and her own notebooks filled with calculations. She had taken a leave of absence from her janitorial job, using what little savings she had to cover expenses while she focused entirely on the problem. She could not afford to keep working while attempting this. It was all or nothing. The library was quiet on a Wednesday afternoon, with only a few other people scattered among the tables. Nia had claimed a spot near the back, away from foot traffic, where she could spread out her materials without disturbing anyone. Her old laptop sat open beside her, running simulations on free quantum computing software. She had been working for 72 hours straight, going home only to sleep for a few hours before returning. The problem was beginning to reveal its structure to her, like a puzzle slowly coming into focus. She could see why traditional approaches failed. They all assumed that error correction had to happen sequentially, one qubit at a time. But what if there was a way to correct errors in parallel across the entire system, using the quantum entanglement itself as the correction mechanism? It was a radical idea. It might be completely wrong. But it was the first genuinely new approach Nia had conceived, and it felt right in a way she could not quite explain. "Excuse me, are you Nia Thompson?" Nia looked up from her notebook, startled. A young man stood beside her table, maybe 25 years old, with warm brown skin and kind eyes. He wore jeans and a blue polo shirt, and he was holding a coffee cup in each hand. "Yes," Nia said cautiously. "Who are you?" "My name is Jordan Lee. I work for Tanaka Corporation as a junior software engineer. I saw your video, the one where you accepted Mr. Tanaka's challenge. I think what you are doing is amazing." He held out one of the coffee cups. "I brought you this. You look like you could use it." Nia hesitated for only a moment before accepting the cup. Following the rule that kindness should always be accepted with gratitude, she smiled at him. "Thank you. That is really thoughtful." Jordan sat down across from her, setting his own coffee aside. "I hope you do not mind me finding you. I asked around and heard you had been spending time at this library. I wanted to meet you in person and tell you that a lot of people at the company are rooting for you." "Really?" Nia was surprised. She had assumed that everyone at Tanaka Corporation would be loyal to their CEO, that they would see her as an outsider trying to embarrass their boss. Really? Jordan confirmed. What Mr. Tanaka did at the summit was not okay. A lot of us were uncomfortable watching it. Then when you walked up on that stage and accepted his challenge, it was like watching someone stand up to a bully. You should know that you have supporters. Nia felt unexpected emotion rise in her throat. She had been so focused on the problem, so isolated in her small apartment in this library, that she had not thought much about how other people might be perceiving the situation. Hearing that she had supporters, that people were rooting for her, made the challenge feel less lonely. "Thank you for telling me that," she said. "It means a lot." Jordan glanced at her notebooks, his eyes widening slightly as he recognized some of the equations. "Are you actually making progress?" "Maybe. I have an idea. I do not know if it will work yet." Nia found herself wanting to talk about it, to explain her thinking to someone who might understand. Everyone has been trying to solve the error correction problem sequentially, but what if the solution is to use quantum entanglement itself as the correction mechanism? If you could create a self-correcting quantum state where errors in one qubit automatically trigger corrections across the entire entangled system. She trailed off, realizing she was getting too technical. But Jordan was nodding, his expression thoughtful. "That is a completely different approach than anything I have heard about," he said. "Might actually work. Have you tested it?" "Not yet. I need better computing resources than what I have access to on free software. But I am building the theoretical framework first." Nia paused, then decided to trust him. "Would you be willing to look at my work? Give me feedback from an engineering perspective?" "Absolutely," Jordan said without hesitation. "I would be honored." They spent the next 2 hours going through Nia's notes together. Jordan asked good questions, pointed out potential issues she had not considered, and suggested ways to test her theories. He was smart and kind, treating her ideas with genuine respect, never talking down to her despite her current circumstances. By the time the library announced it would close in 30 minutes, Nia had refined her approach significantly. Jordan had also offered to help her gain access to better computing resources. "I cannot give you direct access to Tanaka systems, obviously," he said as they gathered up Nia's materials. "But I know some people at the university who might let you use their quantum simulation labs after hours. Would that help?" "That would help tremendously," Nia said, accepting the offer with gratitude just as the story required. "Thank you, Jordan. Really. You did not have to do any of this." "Yes, I did," he said simply. "It is the right thing to do. Besides, I believe you can actually solve this. I do not know why, but I have a feeling about it." As Nia rode the bus home that evening, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. Not just about the challenge, but about people, about kindness, about the possibility that the world contained more good than she had been allowing herself to believe. The next morning, she received an email from Jordan with contact information for Dr. Bernard Hayes, a professor at the local university who ran the quantum computing lab. Jordan had already spoken to him, explaining Nia's situation. Dr. Hayes was willing to meet with her. Nia sent a reply immediately, setting up a meeting for that afternoon. Dr. Bernard Hayes was a distinguished African-American man in his 60s, with gray hair and a warm, professorial manner. His office was filled with books, papers, and photographs of various quantum computing setups. When Nia arrived, he greeted her with a firm handshake and a knowing smile. "Jordan told me about your situation," Dr. Hayes said, gesturing for her to sit. "But what he did not tell me was that you used to be one of my students." Nia froze. She looked at him more closely, recognition dawning. "Dr. Hayes, I did not realize. You taught my Introduction to Quantum Mechanics course at MIT. That was 7 years ago." "I remember you," he said. "You were brilliant. One of the best students I ever taught. I was devastated when I heard you had to leave the program. Family emergency, they told us." "My mother got sick," Nia explained, her voice quiet. "Cancer. She needed someone to take care of her, and I was all she had. The medical bills piled up. I had to make a choice." Dr. Hayes nodded with understanding. "And now you are working as a janitor while attempting to solve one of the most difficult problems in quantum computing. Nia, why did you not reach out? Why did you not tell anyone from MIT what was happening? We could have helped." "I was ashamed," Nia admitted. "I felt like I had failed. Like I had wasted everyone's time and investment in me. It seemed easier to just disappear." "That was the wrong choice," Dr. Hayes said gently. "But it is not too late to make a different one. Let me see what you are working on." Nia showed him her notebooks, explained her theoretical approach, walked him through her reasoning. Dr. Hayes listened intently, occasionally asking questions, his expression growing more impressed with each page. When she finished, he sat back in his chair and shook his head slowly. Nia, this is extraordinary work. Your approach is genuinely novel. I think you might actually have a path to solving this. Really? Nia had been so deep in the work that she had lost perspective on whether it was actually good or just wishful thinking. Really? And I am going to help you. Dr. Hayes pulled out a set of keys. Starting tonight, you have full access to our quantum simulation lab. Use whatever resources you need. I will also reach out to some colleagues who might be interested in consulting on this. If you are going to solve the impossible, you should have support. Nia felt tears threaten, but she blinked them back. Thank you, Dr. Hayes. I will not waste this opportunity. You never wasted anything, Nia. You made sacrifices for someone you love. That is not failure. That is love. Now let us see you turn that love into something that changes the world. That night, Nia stood in the university's quantum simulation lab, surrounded by advanced computing equipment, with her notebooks open and her mind clear. She had 12 days left on the challenge. She had a revolutionary theoretical approach. And she finally had the resources to test whether her impossible idea might actually work. She logged into the simulation system and began to code. The university lab became Nia's world. She would arrive each evening after the regular students left, usually around 8 o'clock, and work straight through until dawn. Dr. Hayes had given her a badge that allowed 24-hour access, and she used every minute of it. The lab was her sanctuary, a place where she was not a janitor or a dropout, but simply a scientist working on a problem that mattered. But late at night, when exhaustion made her thoughts drift, the past would creep back in. Nia had been 22 when her mother first got the diagnosis. Stage 3 breast cancer, aggressive, requiring immediate treatment. Her mother, Patricia Thompson, had been a single parent her entire life, working 2 jobs to give Nia every opportunity. When the roles reversed, when Patricia needed care and could not work anymore, Nia had not hesitated. She had been in her second year of the PhD program at MIT, studying quantum computing under some of the brightest minds in the field. Her research had been promising. Professors spoke about her potential in glowing terms. She had a fellowship that covered tuition and provided a modest stipend. The future looked bright. Then everything changed in a single phone call. Nia, I need you to come home, her mother had said, her voice weak and scared in a way Nia had never heard before. The doctors found something. Nia had taken a leave of absence from MIT, intending to return after a few months once her mother's treatment was underway. But medical bills started piling up faster than insurance could cover them. Her mother needed experimental treatments not covered by their plan. She needed full-time care during recovery. She needed medicine, equipment, specialists. Nia's fellowship stipend was not enough. Her mother's savings evaporated in weeks. They needed money, real money, and they needed it fast. So Nia made the choice that would define the next 3 years of her life. She withdrew from MIT, found a job that paid weekly, and devoted herself entirely to keeping her mother alive. The janitorial position at the convention center paid better than minimum wage and offered flexible hours. It was honest work, and it kept food on the table and medicine in her mother's cabinet. Her mother survived. The cancer went into remission after 2 brutal years of treatment. But by then Nia's academic career was gone. Her fellowship had been reassigned. Her research had been absorbed into other students' projects. The momentum she had built was lost. Patricia now lived in a care facility, still recovering, still needing ongoing medical support. Nia visited every Sunday, bringing flowers and stories, never letting her mother see how much she had sacrificed. Patricia thought Nia had simply decided academia was not for her. She did not know her daughter cleaned floors to pay for her care. Sitting in the quantum lab at 3 in the morning, Nia thought about those years. She thought about the dream she had buried, the potential she had let slip away, the brilliant future that had died so her mother could live. She had told herself she made peace with it, that love was worth any sacrifice. But the truth was more complicated. She missed her research. She missed feeling like her mind mattered. She missed being seen as someone capable of greatness instead of someone whose job was to empty trash cans. The challenge Hiroshi had thrown at her was a chance to reclaim all of that. Not just the money, though $800 million would solve every financial problem she and her mother would ever face. But more importantly, the chance to prove she was still the brilliant student she had been, that 3 years of janitorial work had not erased her abilities. She could be great again. She could show the world what Patricia Thompson's daughter was capable of. The simulation on her screen completed its latest run. Nia examined the results, her exhaustion forgotten as excitement built. Her theoretical approach was working. Not perfectly yet, but the quantum error correction was happening in parallel across the entangled system exactly as she had predicted. Errors were being caught and corrected faster than decoherence could occur. She was on the right track. Still here, I see. Nia turned to find Dr. Hayes standing in the lab doorway, carrying 2 paper bags that smelled like breakfast. It was 6 in the morning. She had been working for 10 straight hours without realizing how much time had passed. I brought food, Dr. Hayes said, setting the bags on the workbench. Bagels, fruit, coffee. You need to eat, Nia. Solving impossible problems requires fuel. Nia accepted the food gratefully, suddenly aware of how hungry she was. They sat together while she ate, and Dr. Hayes reviewed her latest simulation results. This is remarkable progress, he said. You are 8 days into the challenge and you already have a working model. Most people would still be stuck in theoretical planning. I had a 3-year head start, Nia said. I have been thinking about problems like this the whole time I was working as a janitor. My mind needed somewhere to go. Dr. Hayes looked at her with deep compassion. Tell me about your mother. How is she doing? So Nia told him. About the cancer, the treatment, the remission. About the care facility where Patricia now lived, slowly regaining her strength. About the medical debt that still hung over them, the constant worry about what would happen if the cancer returned. If I win this challenge, Nia said quietly, I can pay off everything. I can get my mother the best care available. I can stop worrying about money and focus on what matters. And what matters to you? Dr. Hayes asked. Nia gestured at the lab equipment around them. This. Research. Discovery. Using my mind for something bigger than myself. I love my mother more than anything and I would make the same choice again. But I also miss this world. I miss being part of the search for knowledge. Then win the challenge, Dr. Hayes said simply. Solve the impossible problem. Take the money. And come back to us. The academic world needs minds like yours, Nia. We are less without you. Over the next few days, Nia refined her approach with input from Dr. Hayes and 2 of his colleagues who had agreed to consult on the project. Jordan stopped by most evenings, bringing food and moral support, helping her test edge cases in the simulation. A small team was forming around her, people who believed in her and wanted to see her succeed. But not everyone was supportive. The media attention around the janitor who challenged a billionaire had grown intense. News outlets ran stories analyzing the quantum problem and interviewing experts who almost universally declared it unsolvable. Social media divided into camps, some cheering for Nia, others mocking her for thinking she could succeed where trained researchers had failed. The cruelest comments focused on her race and her job. Janitors should stick to mopping, one viral post said. Quantum computing is not for people who empty trash cans. Another called her delusional, saying Hiroshi had been right to laugh at her, that she was embarrassing herself by not knowing her place. Nia tried to ignore the negativity, but it seeped into her awareness anyway. Late at night, when exhaustion made her vulnerable, she would wonder if they were right. Maybe she was foolish to think she could solve this. Maybe she should have stayed invisible, should have accepted the humiliation and moved on. Then she would look at her simulation results, at the progress she was making, at the support from people like Dr. Hayes and Jordan who saw her value. And she would remember that kindness and hope were supposed to lead. That love for her mother had brought her this far. That believing in herself was not arrogance, it was survival. She kept working. 5 days before the deadline, Nia had a complete theoretical solution. Her approach used quantum entanglement to create self-correcting qubit arrays that maintained coherence even under high error rates. It was elegant, revolutionary, and according to her simulations it worked. But simulations were not real-world proof. To truly validate the solution, she would need to test it on actual quantum computing hardware. And that was something she did not have access to. That evening, as she was preparing to leave the lab, Nia received an email that made her heart skip. It was from Hiroshi Tanaka himself. Miss Thompson, the email read. I have been following your progress with great interest. I understand you have made significant advances on the challenge. I would like to meet with you in person to discuss providing additional resources for testing. Please let me know if you would be willing to visit Tanaka Corporation headquarters tomorrow morning. Respectfully, Hiroshi Tanaka. Nia stared at the email for a long time. This was the man who had humiliated her on stage in front of thousands of people. The man whose cruel joke had forced her into this impossible challenge. Part of her wanted to refuse, to prove she could do this without his help. But the rule was clear. Help should not be refused. Offers should be accepted with gratitude. And if she was honest, she needed actual quantum hardware to complete her validation. pride would not solve the problem. Collaboration would. She typed her response, "Mr. Tanaka, I would be happy to meet with you tomorrow. Thank you for the offer. Nia Thompson." The next morning, Nia stood in front of the Tanaka Corporation headquarters, a gleaming tower of glass and steel that reached 40 stories into the sky. She wore her best clothes, a green dress she had bought years ago for conference presentations, and she carried her laptop bag filled with notebooks and data. She took a deep breath and walked inside. It was time to face the man who had changed her life. The Tanaka Corporation lobby was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows flooded the space with natural light, making everything bright and clear. Modern art installations decorated the walls, and a massive digital display showed real-time data from the company's various projects around the world. People in business attire moved through the space with purpose, everyone looking important and busy. Nia felt out of place in her simple green dress, but she held her head high as she approached the reception desk. "I have an appointment with Mr. Tanaka," she said to the receptionist, a young woman with perfect makeup and a polite smile. "You must be Nia Thompson," the receptionist said, checking her computer. "Mr. Tanaka is expecting you. Take the elevator to the 40th floor. His assistant will meet you there." The elevator ride felt endless. Nia watched the floor numbers climb, her stomach tight with nervousness. She was about to face the man who had humiliated her. She did not know what to expect from this meeting. The 40th floor was executive territory. Thick carpet, expensive artwork, and a hushed atmosphere that spoke of serious decisions being made behind closed doors. A woman in her 30s, wearing a professional maroon suit, was waiting when the elevator doors opened. "Miss Thompson, welcome. I am Yuki Tanaka, Mr. Tanaka's sister and his executive assistant. Please follow me." Yuki had a kind face and a warm demeanor that immediately put Nia more at ease. She led her down a corridor to a large corner office with windows on two sides, offering a spectacular view of the city. Hiroshi Tanaka stood when they entered. He was wearing a dark blue suit again, perfectly tailored, but his expression was very different from the confident arrogance he had displayed at the summit. He looked tired and there was something uncertain in his eyes. "Miss Thompson, thank you for coming," he said, gesturing to a comfortable chair near his desk. "Please sit." Nia sat, setting her laptop bag carefully at her feet. Yuki brought them tea, then quietly left the office, closing the door behind her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched, uncomfortable and loaded with unspoken tension. Finally, Hiroshi broke it. "I owe you an apology." Nia had not expected that. She looked at him, surprised. "What I did at the Global Tech Summit was cruel and unprofessional," Hiroshi continued, his voice formal but sincere. "I made you the target of a joke to entertain my audience. I dismissed you based on your job without knowing anything about who you are or what you are capable of. It was wrong and I am deeply sorry." The apology was clearly genuine. Nia could see the regret in his face, the way he seemed to be struggling with his own behavior. "I accept your apology," Nia said, "because the story required kindness to lead." "Thank you for saying that. I have been watching your progress," Hiroshi said, seeming to relax slightly now that the apology had been delivered. "My team has been monitoring the academic networks, and we know you have been working with Dr. Hayes at the university. The preliminary papers you posted to the research portal are extraordinary. You have approached the problem in a way nobody else has considered." "You really think so?" Despite herself, Nia felt a flush of pride. "I know so. I spent 5 years having the best quantum physicists in the world work on this problem. None of them got as far as you have in 8 days." Hiroshi leaned forward, his expression intent. "Miss Thompson, I would like to help you complete your solution. Not because I want to take credit for it, but because I believe you are on the verge of something revolutionary, and you should have every resource available to see it through." "What kind of help are you offering?" Nia asked carefully. "Access to our quantum computing hardware for testing. Laboratory space. Any equipment or software you need. Consultation with our research team if you want it, though I understand you may prefer to work independently." Hiroshi paused. "I'm not trying to take over your project. This is your solution, your work. I am simply offering resources to help you validate and complete it." Nia thought about the rule. Help should be accepted with gratitude. But more than that, she thought about how genuine this offer seemed, how Hiroshi's regret appeared real. He was trying to make amends for his cruelty by supporting her. That was a good thing. "I accept," Nia said. "And thank you. Access to your quantum hardware would make a huge difference. My simulations are promising, but I need to test on actual systems to know if the solution really works." Relief crossed Hiroshi's face. Excellent. I will have Yuki set everything up. You can start as soon as today if you wish. They spent the next hour discussing technical details. Nia was surprised to find that Hiroshi had a deep understanding of quantum computing. He asked intelligent questions about her approach, made thoughtful suggestions, and showed genuine excitement about the theoretical framework she had developed. As they talked, Nia found herself seeing him differently. Not as the arrogant billionaire who had mocked her, but as a fellow scientist who genuinely cared about advancing technology. His cruelty at the summit had been a terrible mistake, but it did not define his entire character. There is something else I should tell you, Hiroshi said as their meeting was wrapping up. After the summit I looked into your background. I know about MIT. I know about your mother. I know what you sacrificed. His voice was gentle. You are not just a janitor who happened to wander into my presentation. You are a brilliant scientist who made impossible choices out of love. I wish I had known that before I opened my mouth. You could not have known, Nia said. I did not exactly advertise my past. Still, I judged you on appearance and circumstance. That was my failure, not yours. Hiroshi stood, extending his hand. I look forward to seeing what you accomplish, Miss Thompson. I believe you are going to change the world. Nia shook his hand, feeling the firm grip and the sincerity behind it. Please call me Nia. Then you should call me Hiroshi. Formality seems excessive for people who are working toward the same goal. As Nia left the office, escorted by Yuki down to the quantum computing labs on the 15th floor, she felt a strange mix of emotions. Relief that Hiroshi had apologized. Excitement about having access to proper testing equipment. And something else, something harder to name. A sense of connection, maybe. A recognition that people could make mistakes and still be fundamentally good. The Tanaka Corporation Quantum Lab was beyond anything Nia had imagined. The hardware alone was worth millions of dollars. Specialized cooling systems kept the quantum processors at near absolute zero. Advanced monitoring equipment tracked every quantum state change in real time. It was a physicist's dream. Jordan was there, having been assigned to assist with her testing. His face lit up when he saw her. This is amazing, he said, gesturing around the lab. I heard Mr. Tanaka personally approved giving you full access. That never happens. He apologized for what he did at the summit, Nia said, still processing that conversation. I think he genuinely feels bad about it. He should, Jordan said firmly. But I am glad he is trying to make it right. Now let us see if your solution actually works. They spent the rest of the day setting up tests. Nia's theoretical framework needed to be translated into actual quantum operations on the hardware. It was delicate work, requiring precision and patience. But with Jordan's help and the advanced equipment at their disposal, progress was rapid. By evening they were ready for the first real-world test. Nia stood in front of the main control console, her heart pounding as she prepared to run her algorithm on actual quantum hardware for the first time. This was the moment of truth. Either her solution would work, or 3 years of thinking and 8 days of intense research would prove to be nothing more than an interesting idea that failed in practice. Ready? Jordan asked beside her. Ready, Nia confirmed. She initiated the test sequence. The quantum processor hummed to life, its cooling systems maintaining the precise temperature required for quantum coherence. On the monitors, data began flowing, showing the quantum states of hundreds of qubits all entangled in the pattern Nia had designed. Then the error injection began. The system deliberately introduced errors into random qubits, simulating the kind of noise and decoherence that made quantum computing so difficult in real-world conditions. Nia watched her error correction algorithm respond. The entangled system detected the errors and began correcting them in parallel, exactly as her theory predicted. The quantum coherence held steady. The corrections happened faster than new errors could accumulate. It was working. Oh my God, Jordan breathed beside her. Nia, it is actually working. They ran the test for 10 minutes, then 20, then an hour. The system remained stable throughout, maintaining quantum coherence while processing complex calculations. The error correction was not just functional, it was efficient, using less energy and processing overhead than any existing method. When Nia finally stopped the test, her hands were shaking. Jordan let out a whoop of joy and pulled her into a hug that she returned with enthusiasm. You did it, he said. You actually solved the impossible problem. We have to run more tests, Nia said, trying to stay grounded. This was just one configuration. We need to validate across different conditions, different error rates, different qubit array sizes. And we will, Jordan assured her. But Nia, you should let yourself celebrate for a minute. You just accomplished something that the greatest minds in quantum physics said could not be done. That night, Nia worked until midnight, running test after test, each one confirming that her solution was robust. She had 3 days left until the deadline. 3 days to document everything, prepare her presentation, and prove to the world that the janitor they had mocked was about to revolutionize quantum computing. As she was finally preparing to leave the lab, Yuki appeared at the door. "Nia, my brother wanted me to check on you. He is in his office working late. He asked if you might join him for a few minutes." Nia was exhausted but curious. She followed Yuki back up to the 40th floor. Hiroshi was sitting at his desk, but he had loosened his tie and there was a weariness to his posture that made him seem more human, less like an untouchable seal. "I heard the tests went well," he said as Nia entered. "Jordan sent me the data. Your solution is remarkable." "Thank you. I think we have it. I just need to refine and document over the next few days." "About that." Hiroshi stood, walking over to the window. "Nia, I want you to know that whether or not you meet the deadline, whether or not you present your solution in the way the challenge requires, I am going to give you the $800 million. Nia stared at him. "What?" "You solved the problem. You did what I said was impossible. The deadline is an arbitrary constraint I created. It is not fair to penalize you if you need more time to properly document your work." He turned to face her. "You earned this. You deserve it. I will not let technicalities or formalities stand in the way of that." Nia felt tears prick her eyes. "That is incredibly generous. It is basic fairness. I created this challenge as a public spectacle, and I made you part of that spectacle against your will. The least I can do is ensure you receive what you earned." Hiroshi's expression softened. "Your mother must be very proud of you." "She does not know yet," Nia admitted. "I have not told her about the challenge. I did not want her to worry or get her hopes up." "Then you should visit her soon. Share the good news. You are about to change both your lives." As Nia left the Tanaka building that night, riding the elevator down from the 40th floor, she felt something she had not felt in years. Not just hope but certainty. She had done the impossible. She had proved her worth. And she had found kindness in unexpected places. The story was far from over, but the ending was beginning to take shape. And it was going to be beautiful. The next morning, Nia woke in her small apartment with sunlight streaming through the windows and a sense of purpose burning in her chest. She had spent 3 years feeling invisible, dismissed, forgotten. Now she was 48 hours away from shocking the world. But first she had a promise to keep. Nia took the bus across town to Meadowbrook Care Center, where her mother lived. It was a pleasant facility with gardens and comfortable common areas, far better than many care homes but still expensive. Nia's janitorial salary barely covered the monthly fees, and there had been months when she had to choose between rent and her mother's care. Those were the darkest times, when she had felt the weight of impossible choices pressing down on her shoulders. All of that was about to change. Patricia Thompson was in her room, sitting in a chair by the window reading a book. She was 62 but looked older, her body worn down by the brutal fight against cancer. Still, her eyes were bright and her smile was warm when Nia entered. "Baby girl," Patricia said, setting down her book. "I was not expecting you until Sunday. Is everything okay?" "Everything is more than okay, Mama." Nia pulled up a chair and took her mother's hands. "I have something to tell you." She explained everything. The Global Tech Summit, the humiliation, the challenge, the $800 million prize. Patricia's eyes grew wider with each detail, her expression cycling through shock, anger on her daughter's behalf, and finally, glowing pride. "You are about to win $800 million, Patricia said slowly, as if testing whether the words were real. "My daughter, the janitor, is about to become one of the richest people in the country." "Not a janitor anymore," Nia said gently. "A quantum physicist. That is what I always was, Mama. I just had to pretend to be something else for a while so I could take care of you." Tears filled Patricia's eyes. "You gave up everything for me. Your education, your career, your dreams. You never complained, never made me feel like a burden. You were never a burden. You're my mother. You sacrificed everything to raise me alone, to give me opportunities, to make me believe I could be anything. When you needed me, of course I was there. That is what love means." They held each other, both crying now, releasing 3 years of fear and struggle and unspoken pain. "What are you going to do with the money?" Patricia asked when they finally pulled apart. "First, pay off all your medical bills. Second, move you to the best care facility in the country, somewhere with gardens and great doctors and everything you need. Third, go back to school and finish my PhD. And fourth." Nia smiled. "I do not know yet. But I have time to figure it out." "My brilliant daughter," Patricia whispered. I always knew you would do something amazing. They spent the rest of the morning together, talking and laughing, making plans for a future that suddenly looked bright and full of possibility. When Nia finally left, she felt lighter than she had in years. Back at Tanaka Corporation, Nia dove into documentation. Jordan helped her write up the technical specifications of her solution, organizing the data from all their tests. Dr. Hayes reviewed the theoretical framework, suggesting clarifications that would make it more accessible to other researchers. And Hiroshi kept appearing, dropping by the lab to check on progress, always respectful, always supportive. On the second evening, he brought dinner for everyone who was working late, insisting they take a break to eat. It was simple food, sandwiches and salads from a nearby restaurant, but the gesture was kind. They sat in the lab break room, the small team that had formed around Nia's impossible project. I have been thinking, Hiroshi said as they ate. After you win this challenge, what are your plans? Nia had been thinking about that too. Return to MIT, finish my PhD. Do research. Make up for lost time. You could do that, Hiroshi said thoughtfully. Or you could work here. Tanaka Corporation would be honored to have you as our Chief Innovation Officer. You would have unlimited resources, your own research team, complete freedom to pursue whatever projects interest you. The position comes with a substantial salary, full benefits, and the opportunity to bring your ideas to market. It was an incredible offer. The kind of position most scientists would dream about. Think about it, Hiroshi continued. You do not need to decide now. But know that the offer is genuine. What you have accomplished in 8 days has been remarkable. I want you to keep accomplishing remarkable things, and I would like Tanaka Corporation to be part of that. I will think about it, Nia promised, accepting the offer with gratitude as the story required. Thank you for believing in me. You made that easy, Hiroshi said with a small smile. You are impossible not to believe in. There was a moment when their eyes met, and Nia felt something shift in the air between them. Not attraction exactly, not yet. But the beginning of something, a recognition of mutual respect and shared passion for discovery. Later that evening, after the others had left, Nia found herself alone in the lab with Hiroshi. He had stayed to help with some final equipment calibrations, and they worked together in comfortable silence for a while. Can I ask you something? Nia said eventually. Of course. Why did you do it? Why did you humiliate me at the summit? You seem like a decent person. That was not a decent thing to do. Hiroshi set down the tools he was holding and leaned against the workbench. Honestly? Arrogance. I was showing off for my audience, trying to demonstrate how difficult the challenge was by suggesting even a janitor could not solve it. I did not think about you as a real person with feelings and dignity. I only thought about the effect I wanted to create. He looked directly at her. It was unforgivable. I have been trying to make amends, but I know I cannot undo the harm I caused. You are making amends right now, Nia said. By being honest, by helping, by treating me like an equal instead of someone beneath you. You are not beneath me. You might be above me actually. Your mind is extraordinary, Nia. I have built $1 billion company, but I could not have solved this problem. You did it in 8 days. They stood there in the bright, clean light of the lab, two people from completely different worlds finding unexpected common ground. I was angry at you, Nia admitted. After the summit. I wanted to prove you wrong out of spite. I hope you still want to prove me wrong. Just for better reasons now. I want to prove everyone wrong. All the people who think janitors cannot be brilliant. All the people who think circumstances define potential. All the people who wrote me off because of how I looked or where I worked. Nia felt passion rising in her voice. I want to show the world that greatness can come from anywhere, that you should never underestimate someone just because they are not standing in the right place or wearing the right clothes. Then that is exactly what we will do, Hiroshi said. Day after tomorrow you are going to stand on a stage and present your solution to the world. And everyone who doubted you will have to face the fact that they were wrong. The next day was a whirlwind of preparation. Nia worked with Yuki to create a presentation that would showcase her solution clearly. She practiced her delivery, refining her explanation until it was both technically accurate and accessible to a general audience. Jordan helped her compile video demonstrations of the quantum hardware running her error correction algorithm. Meanwhile, news of the upcoming presentation had leaked to the media. Speculation was rampant. Some outlets reported that Nia had actually solved the problem. Others insisted it was impossible, that the presentation would be an embarrassing failure. Social media was divided, with passionate arguments on both sides. Nia ignored all of it. She focused on her work, on making sure her presentation was perfect. That evening, as she was doing final practice runs, Dr. Hayes visited the lab. "I am proud of you, Nia," he said. "Not just for solving the problem but for how you have handled all of this. The pressure, the attention, the doubt. You stayed focused on what mattered." "I learned that from you," Nia said. "From all my professors at MIT. You taught me that science is about the work, not about ego or proving yourself to critics. The work is what matters. And your work is about to change everything." Dr. Hayes smiled. "Get some sleep tonight. Tomorrow is going to be a big day." But Nia did not sleep much. She lay in her small apartment bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the journey that had brought her to this moment. 3 years of struggle. 8 days of intense research. A lifetime of loving her mother and being loved in return. Tomorrow everything would change. Tomorrow the janitor would become a revolutionary. Tomorrow kindness and hope and love would prove stronger than cruelty and doubt. Nia finally fell asleep with a smile on her face, dreaming of quantum states and impossible problems solved. The presentation was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon at the same Global Tech Summit venue where Hiroshi had first issued his cruel challenge. The symbolism was intentional. Nia would return to the place of her humiliation and transform it into the place of her victory. The morning passed in a blur of final preparations. Nia wore a professional red dress that Yuki had helped her choose, something that made her look confident and capable. Her natural hair was styled beautifully, framing her face. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked powerful. Jordan drove her to the venue in his car, providing moral support and terrible jokes to calm her nerves. "What did the quantum physicist say when she solved the impossible problem?" he asked as they pulled into the parking garage. "I do not know what." "Checkmate, billionaire." He grinned at his own joke. Nia laughed despite herself. "That was terrible. But it made you laugh. My job here is done." Inside the venue, Yuki was coordinating everything. The main ballroom was packed with journalists, technology executives, scientists, and curious observers. Cameras were set up to live-stream the presentation to millions of viewers around the world. The energy in the room was electric with anticipation. Hiroshi found Nia backstage. He looked nervous, which was oddly comforting. If he was nervous for her, that meant he truly cared about her success. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Terrified. Excited. Ready." Nia took a deep breath. "Thank you for setting all this up. For giving me this opportunity. You earned it. Now go show the world what you are capable of." At 2 o'clock precisely, Nia walked onto the stage. The audience fell silent. Cameras focused on her. Lights brightened. For a moment, Nia was back in that horrible instant 8 days ago when she had been the target of mockery and laughter. But this time was different. This time she was not carrying a mop bucket. This time she was carrying the solution to an impossible problem. "Good afternoon," Nia said, her voice steady through the sound system. "My name is Nia Thompson. 8 days ago, I was publicly challenged to solve a quantum computing problem that experts considered impossible. Today, I am here to present my solution." She clicked to the first slide of her presentation. Complex equations filled the screen behind her. The coherence paradox has frustrated quantum physicists for over a decade. The problem is straightforward. How do you maintain quantum coherence across large qubit arrays while correcting errors faster than decoherence occurs? Every traditional approach fails because the correction mechanisms introduce new errors faster than they fix the original ones. Nia walked the audience through the problem clearly, using simple language to explain complex concepts. She showed why previous approaches had failed. Then she revealed her revolutionary solution. The key insight is to stop thinking about error correction as a sequential process. Instead, we use quantum entanglement itself as the correction mechanism. By creating a self-correcting quantum state, errors in one qubit automatically trigger corrections across the entire entangled system. It happens in parallel, faster than decoherence can occur. The audience was absolutely silent, hanging on every word. Scientists leaned forward in their seats. Cameras captured every moment. Nia showed video footage of her solution running on Tanaka Corporation's quantum hardware. Real-time data demonstrated the error correction working exactly as she had described. Quantum coherence remained stable even under high error rates. The system processed complex calculations that would have been impossible with previous methods. This solution enables quantum computers to scale up dramatically. It makes them practical for everyday applications instead of just specialized research. It changes what is possible. When Nia finished her presentation, there was a moment of stunned silence. Then the audience erupted into applause. People stood, clapping and cheering. Scientists who had declared the problem unsolvable were shaking their heads in amazement. Technology executives were already calculating the commercial implications. Nia stood on the stage, overwhelmed by the response, and felt tears threaten. She had done it. She had proved everyone wrong. The janitor had solved the impossible problem. Hiroshi joined her on stage, carrying a ceremonial check made out for $800 million. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said into his microphone, "I am honored to present this prize to Nia Thompson, who has accomplished what my company spent 5 years and hundreds of millions of dollars failing to achieve. She did it in 8 days. She is a genius, and I am deeply sorry for ever suggesting otherwise." He handed her the check, then surprised her by bowing deeply, a gesture of profound respect in his culture. The audience applauded even louder. But Hiroshi was not done. He took the microphone again, and Nia saw something determined in his expression. "I have one more announcement. Miss Thompson, in addition to the prize money, I would like to offer you the position of Chief Innovation Officer at Tanaka Corporation. You would have complete freedom to pursue your research, unlimited resources, and the opportunity to bring your ideas to the world. You would also receive a significant salary and full benefits, including comprehensive medical coverage for you and your family." The audience gasped. It was an incredible offer, the kind that could set up Nia's entire future. Following the rule of the story, Nia did not hesitate. "I accept with deep gratitude. Thank you for this opportunity." More applause. More cameras flashing. Nia and Hiroshi shook hands on stage, sealing the agreement. Have you ever doubted yourself because others doubted you? Have you let fear stop you from trying something impossible? Nia chose courage over fear, love over bitterness, hope over despair. If her story inspires you, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. What impossible challenge would you attempt if you knew you could not fail? The press conference afterward was chaotic. Journalists shouted questions, all wanting to know how Nia had solved the problem, what her background was, what she planned to do next. She answered patiently, telling her story of MIT and her mother's illness and the 3 years of janitorial work that had led to this moment. One reporter asked the question that was on everyone's mind. "Miss Thompson, did you feel angry about how Mr. Tanaka treated you at the original presentation?" Nia glanced at Hiroshi, who stood beside her looking uncomfortable. "I felt hurt. I felt dismissed. But I also felt determined to prove that I was more than what I appeared to be. Mr. Tanaka made a mistake, but he has spent the last 8 days trying to make amends. He gave me resources, support, and respect. He believed in my solution even when much of the world was skeptical. That is what matters to me now." It was a gracious answer, and it was true. Nia had chosen to move forward with kindness instead of holding on to anger. That choice had opened doors that bitterness would have kept closed. By the time the press conference ended, it was evening. Nia was exhausted but exhilarated. Jordan drove her back to Tanaka Corporation headquarters, where a small celebration had been arranged in the lab for everyone who had helped with the project. Dr. Hayes was there, along with his colleagues from the university. Yuki had ordered catering and decorated the space with congratulations banners. Even Patricia had been brought from the care center, sitting in a comfortable chair with a warm blanket, her face glowing with pride as she watched her daughter celebrate. To Nia, Dr. Hayes said, raising a glass of champagne, "Who solved the impossible, changed the world, and reminded us all that genius can come from anywhere." Everyone drank to that. Nia found herself being hugged by Jordan, by Yuki, by professors she barely knew who wanted to congratulate her. It was overwhelming and wonderful. Later in the evening, when the celebration had calmed down and most people had left, Nia found herself alone with Hiroshi in the quiet lab. "How does it feel?" he asked. "To have accomplished the impossible?" "Surreal. Like I might wake up any moment and find out it was all a dream." Nia smiled. "But also right. Like this is what I was always meant to do." "You were meant for greatness," Hiroshi said softly. "I wish I had seen that from the beginning. You see it now. That is what matters." They stood together in comfortable silence, looking out the lab windows at the city lights below. Something was building between them, a connection that went beyond professional respect. But both of them were cautious, aware that the power dynamic between billionaire CEO and new employee could complicate things. For now, friendship was enough. For now, mutual respect and shared purpose were what mattered. "I have a question," Hiroshi said eventually. "Your mother, how is she really doing? You mentioned medical bills and ongoing care." "She is in remission. Recovering. But cancer is unpredictable. She needs monitoring, potential future treatments if anything changes. The care facility she is at is good but expensive. The position I offered includes medical coverage for your entire family. The best care available anywhere in the world, no cost. I want you to know that your mother will be taken care of, completely and permanently. Nia felt overwhelming gratitude. Thank you. That means everything to me. You earned it. And more than that, you deserve it. Both of you deserve peace after what you have been through. As Nia finally headed home that night, $800 million richer and with a prestigious job offer accepted, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. The pain, the sacrifice, the determination to keep going even when everything seemed hopeless. She had not known, standing in that ballroom with her mop bucket 8 days ago, that her life was about to transform completely. She had not known that accepting a cruel challenge would lead to triumph, that kindness would find her in unexpected places, that the man who humiliated her would become someone she respected. But she had taken the risk anyway. She had chosen courage over safety. And that choice had changed everything. Tomorrow she would start her new position as Chief Innovation Officer. She would continue her research. She would use her resources to help others who faced impossible choices like the one she had faced. But tonight she simply allowed herself to feel proud. Proud of what she had accomplished. Proud of the woman she had become. The janitor had solved the impossible. The rest was just the beginning. Nia's first official day as Chief Innovation Officer of Tanaka Corporation began with a tour of facilities she had never seen during her previous visits. Hiroshi himself showed her around, introducing her to department heads, researchers, and executives who would now be her colleagues. The company occupied 3 buildings in the downtown business district. The main tower housed executive offices and administrative functions. The second building contained research and development labs far more advanced than the quantum computing lab where Nia had worked on her solution. The third building was dedicated to manufacturing and testing. This will be your office, Hiroshi said, opening a door on the 38th floor of the main tower. Nia stepped inside and caught her breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a stunning view of the city. The space was large and beautifully appointed, with a massive desk, comfortable furniture, and walls she could fill with whiteboards for equations. It was perfect. I thought you might want to be close to the executive floor, Hiroshi explained. My office is 2 floors up. Yuki is on the 40th floor as well. We wanted you to feel integrated into the leadership team. This is amazing, Nia said, walking to the windows. I never imagined having an office like this. You have imagined solving impossible problems. An office seems modest in comparison. Hiroshi smiled. Your employment contract and benefits package are on the desk. Take time to review everything. If you have questions or want to negotiate any terms, talk to Yuki. We want you to be happy here. Over the next few days, Nia settled into her new role. Her salary was more than she had made in 3 years as a janitor, paid every 2 weeks. The medical benefits covered everything for both her and her mother. She had a research budget that seemed unlimited and a team of talented scientists who were excited to work with her. Jordan was assigned as her primary liaison with the quantum computing division, which made Nia happy. Having a friend in her new position made the transition easier. She also began visiting her mother more often. With her new salary, Nia hired a private car service to make the trips easier. Patricia was moving to a new care facility, one with beautiful gardens, private rooms, and the best medical staff in the region. The move would happen in 2 weeks, and Patricia could barely contain her joy. My daughter, the executive, Patricia said during one visit, shaking her head in wonder. Who would have thought? You would have thought, Nia said. You always believed in me. I did. But even I did not imagine it would happen like this. At work, Nia threw herself into new projects. Her quantum error correction solution was being implemented across all of Tanaka Corporation's computing systems, with plans to license the technology to other companies for extraordinary fees. But Nia was not content to rest on that achievement. She started exploring other applications of her theoretical approach, looking at problems in artificial intelligence, cryptography, and materials science. She also began mentoring younger researchers in the company, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds. She remembered what it felt like to be dismissed and overlooked, and she was determined to make sure others did not face the same barriers. Hiroshi was often around. As CEO, he had meetings and responsibilities that kept him busy, but he made time to check in on Nia's projects. They fell into a comfortable pattern of working together, bouncing ideas off each other, challenging each other's assumptions in ways that led to better solutions. Slowly, their professional relationship deepened into genuine friendship. One evening, about 3 weeks after Nia started her new position, she and Hiroshi ended up working late together in the quantum lab. They were testing a new application of her error correction algorithm, and the results were promising but required careful analysis. I think we can improve the efficiency by another 15% if we adjust the entanglement pattern, Nia said, pointing at the data on her screen. Hiroshi leaned over to look, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Show me. They worked through the mathematics together, Hiroshi asking questions that pushed Nia to clarify her thinking. It was exhilarating to work with someone who could keep up with her, who challenged her to be even better. When they finally cracked the improvement, Hiroshi let out a laugh of pure joy. You are brilliant. Every time I think I understand how brilliant, you prove me wrong. You are pretty smart yourself, Nia said, smiling. For a billionaire CEO. I will take that as the compliment it probably is not. They ordered dinner to be delivered to the lab and ate together while discussing future projects. The conversation drifted from work to personal topics. Hiroshi told her about growing up in Japan, about the pressure to succeed in his family's business, about the loneliness that sometimes came with being at the top of a corporate hierarchy. Nia talked about her childhood, about being raised by a single mother who worked constantly to give her opportunities, about discovering her love for science in a high school physics class. I always knew I wanted to do something that mattered, Nia said. I just did not know what form that would take. You are doing it now. Your work is going to impact the world for decades. Our work, Nia corrected. I could not have finished the solution without your resources and support. I provided tools. You provided genius. Those are not equal contributions. There was a moment when their eyes met, and Nia felt that spark again. The awareness that they were becoming something more than colleagues, more than friends. But neither of them acted on it. The timing was not right yet. Too much had happened too fast. They needed time to build something real before they could name what it was becoming. Yuki noticed the growing connection between her brother and Nia. One afternoon, she invited Nia to have coffee in her office. I wanted to talk to you about Hiroshi, Yuki said once they were settled. Nia felt a flutter of nervousness. Is something wrong? No, everything is right. That is what I want to discuss. Yuki smiled warmly. My brother has not been this happy in years. Since you joined the company, he is different. More engaged, more excited about the work. He talks about your projects constantly. He is a good friend, Nia said carefully. He is. And I think he could be more if that is something you might want. Yuki held up a hand before Nia could respond. I am not pressuring you. I just want you to know that I approve. My brother made a terrible mistake when he first met you, but he is a good man. He has been alone for a long time, focused only on work. You remind him that there is more to life than corporate success. I appreciate you telling me this, Nia said. But I need to be careful. I work for him. There is a power dynamic that makes any personal relationship complicated. That is wise. But if you decide the complication is worth it, you should know that you have my support. And my brother would never abuse his position. He respects you too much for that. The conversation stayed with Nia. She found herself thinking about Hiroshi more often, noticing the way he smiled when she explained a new idea, the way he listened with complete attention, the way he treated her as an equal despite their different positions. She was starting to develop feelings for him. Real feelings that went beyond gratitude or professional respect. But she was not sure what to do about it. 2 months after starting her position, Nia attended a major technology conference where she was invited to give a keynote speech about her quantum computing breakthrough. The event was held in a massive convention center, with thousands of attendees from around the world. Hiroshi accompanied her as a representative of Tanaka Corporation. They traveled together on the company jet, a luxury that still felt surreal to Nia. During the flight, they sat across from each other in comfortable leather seats, reviewing Nia's speech. You do not need to be nervous, Hiroshi said. You are going to be excellent. I am not nervous about the speech. I am nervous about the attention. Everyone wants to know about the janitor who became a quantum physicist. They want the story more than the science. Then give them both. Your story is important, Nia. It shows that talent and determination matter more than circumstances or credentials. People need to hear that. At the conference, Nia's keynote was a triumph. She spoke to a packed auditorium about her research, her journey, and the importance of creating opportunities for people from all backgrounds. The audience gave her a standing ovation that lasted several minutes. Afterward, at the reception, Nia found herself surrounded by scientists, entrepreneurs, and journalists all wanting to talk to her. It was overwhelming, but Hiroshi stayed close, running interference when she needed a break, making sure she was comfortable. You are good at this, Nia said when they finally escaped to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. At what? Taking care of people. Making sure they are okay. You pretend to be this hard-driving CO, but you are actually kind. Hiroshi was quiet for a moment. I learned kindness too late. I spent years believing that success meant being tough, demanding, sometimes cruel. It took meeting you to understand that real strength comes from compassion and respect. You are giving me too much credit. I am not giving you enough. They stood together on the balcony, the evening air cool and pleasant. The conference continued inside, but out here it was just the two of them. Nia, Hiroshi said softly. I need to tell you something. Her heart started beating faster. Yes. I have feelings for you. Real feelings that go beyond friendship or professional admiration. I know the timing is complicated. I know there are power dynamics we have to consider. But I needed to be honest. He turned to face her directly. You do not have to respond. You do not owe me anything. I just wanted you to know. Nia took a breath, then made her choice. I have feelings for you too. I have been trying to keep everything professional. But I cannot help it. You make me happy. You challenge me. You see me for who I really am. So what do we do about it? We take it slow. We are careful. We keep our professional relationship strong while we explore what else might be possible. Nia smiled. And we remember that kindness and respect are what matter most. If we build on that foundation, we will figure out the rest. Hiroshi smiled back, a genuine expression of joy that transformed his usually serious face. I can work with that. That night marked a turning point. They were no longer just colleagues or friends. They were two people building something together, slowly and carefully, with mutual respect and growing affection. The next few months were some of the happiest of Nia's life. Her work at Tanaka Corporation flourished. Her mother completed her move to the new care facility and began regaining strength. And her relationship with Hiroshi developed into something beautiful, built on shared values, intellectual connection, and genuine care for each other. They kept their relationship private at first, not hiding it but not advertising it either. They wanted to make sure it was real before inviting outside scrutiny. By the time 6 months had passed since that night on the balcony, they both knew it was real. It was time to move forward together. The 6-month anniversary of Nia solving the impossible problem arrived with fanfare. Technology magazines ran retrospective articles about how her breakthrough had changed the industry. Quantum computing applications were exploding, with companies around the world licensing her error correction algorithm. Stock prices for firms in the sector had soared. Nia had become famous, recognized everywhere she went. Magazine covers featured her story. Universities offered her honorary degrees. Organizations invited her to speak about women in science, about overcoming obstacles, about the power of determination. But despite the attention, Nia stayed focused on what mattered: her research, her mother, and her relationship with Hiroshi. Patricia was thriving in her new care facility. The combination of excellent medical care, beautiful surroundings, and the joy of seeing her daughter succeed had given her renewed energy. She was participating in activities, making friends, and slowly rebuilding her strength. Nia visited every week, bringing flowers and stories and love. Those visits were sacred time, a reminder of why she had fought so hard for so long. At work, Nia had expanded her research team, hiring talented scientists who brought fresh perspectives. Together, they were exploring applications of quantum computing in medicine, working on problems related to protein folding and drug development. The potential to save lives drove Nia forward. Jordan had been promoted to senior engineer, partly due to his work supporting Nia's projects. He was dating someone now, a teacher named Amy Rodriguez who thought his terrible jokes were charming. The four of them occasionally had dinner together, forming a warm circle of friendship. Dr. Hayes had joined Tanaka Corporation as a senior advisor, bringing his decades of experience to help guide the quantum computing division. Having her old professor as a colleague made Nia's professional life even richer. And Hiroshi had become the center of her personal life. Their relationship had blossomed into something deep and genuine. They balanced each other perfectly. His calm steadiness complemented her passionate intensity. Her creativity pushed him to think beyond corporate strategies. His experience helped her navigate the complex world of business and leadership. They still worked together on projects, their intellectual partnership as strong as ever. But they also made time for life outside the lab. Weekend walks in the park. Quiet dinners at home. Conversations that ranged from quantum mechanics to childhood memories to dreams for the future. Hiroshi had introduced Nia to his family in Japan through video calls. His parents were kind and welcoming, expressing gratitude for how happy she made their son. Yuki had become one of Nia's closest friends, a sister she had never had. It was not a fairy tale romance. They had disagreements, moments of frustration, the normal challenges of any relationship. But they faced those challenges with communication and respect, always choosing kindness over ego. One Saturday afternoon, Hiroshi took Nia to see a property outside the city. It was a beautiful house on 5 acres of land with large windows, an open floor plan, and a detached building that could be converted into a private research space. "What do you think?" Hiroshi asked as they walked through the empty rooms. "It is beautiful." "Whose property is this?" "Potentially ours. I wanted to show it to you before making an offer." He took her hand. "Nia, I know we have only been together for 6 months. I know that is not very long. But I also know what I feel and I know what I want for my future. I want to share my life with you. I want to build something permanent together." Nia felt her heart swell. "Are you asking me to move in with you?" "I am asking if you would consider it. No pressure. I know it is a big step." He squeezed her hand gently. "But yes, I would love for us to share a home. To wake up together every morning. To build a life that belongs to both of us." Following the rule that offers should be accepted with gratitude, Nia did not hesitate. "Yes, I would love that too." They bought the house together, both contributing to make it truly theirs. Nia's mother would have a dedicated suite on the first floor for visits or if she ever wanted to live with them permanently. The detached building became Nia's private lab, a space where she could think and work without distractions. Moving in together was a joyful process. They blended their belongings, decorated together, made compromises and discovered shared tastes. Hiroshi learned that Nia liked to sing while cooking. Nia learned that Hiroshi was terrible at gardening but insisted on trying anyway. Their life together was peaceful and happy, filled with work they loved and time spent with people they cared about. But not everything was perfect. About 8 months into her position at Tanaka Corporation, Nia faced a professional challenge that tested everything she had learned. A rival company, Davidson Technologies, announced they were developing their own quantum computing system using an approach they claimed was superior to Nia's error correction algorithm. The announcement included subtle jabs at Tanaka Corporation, implying that their success was overblown, that Nia's solution was not as revolutionary as people claimed. The CEO of Davidson Technologies, a man named Christopher Bennett, was known for aggressive business tactics and public disputes with competitors. Nia wanted to ignore it, to focus on her work and let results speak for themselves. But Bennett kept escalating, giving interviews where he dismissed Nia's accomplishments and suggested that her fame was due more to her background story than to genuine scientific achievement. "He is trying to provoke you," Hiroshi said one evening as they discussed the situation at home. "He wants you to engage publicly, to start a fight that will generate media attention for Davidson Technologies." "I know. And I am not going to give him what he wants." Nia was firm. "My work stands on its own merits. I do not need to defend it against someone who is just trying to tear me down for publicity." "That is the right approach," Hiroshi agreed. "But be prepared for it to get worse before it gets better. Men like Bennett do not stop until they get what they want." Bennett did escalate, publishing a technical paper that claimed to identify flaws in Nia's error correction approach. The paper was sloppy, full of misunderstandings and deliberate misrepresentations, but it got attention. Science blogs picked it up. Technology forums debated it. Some people began to question whether Nia's breakthrough was as solid as initially believed. Nia responded with facts. She published a detailed rebuttal, calmly pointing out the errors in Bennett's paper and providing additional data demonstrating the robustness of her solution. Other researchers in the field supported her, publishing their own analyses confirming that her approach was sound. The controversy blew over within a few weeks. Bennett's credibility was damaged by his obvious errors, while Nia's reputation was enhanced by her professional, fact-based response. She had faced a challenge to her work with grace and intelligence, refusing to be dragged into petty disputes. "You handled that perfectly," Dr. Hayes told her. "You stayed above the noise and let the science do the talking. That is how a real leader responds." The experience taught Nia something important. She was no longer the powerless janitor who could be humiliated without recourse. She had a voice now, a platform, and the respect of her peers. But with that came responsibility to use her influence wisely, to respond to challenges with integrity rather than defensiveness. As fall turned to winter, Nia's life settled into a beautiful rhythm. Work, home, family, love. Everything she had fought for was finally hers. One evening, as she and Hiroshi sat together in their living room, watching snow fall outside the large windows, Nia felt profound contentment. "Are you happy?" Hiroshi asked quietly. "I am. completely happy. Nia leaned against him. A year ago I could not have imagined this life. I was just trying to survive, to take care of my mother, to get through each day. And now I am thriving. I have work that matters. I have my mother back and healthy. I have you. She turned to look at him. I have everything I ever wanted and more than I dared to dream about. You earned all of it, Nia. Through sacrifice, determination, and brilliance. We earned it, she corrected. You took a chance on me when you could have just ignored your challenge. You apologized when you could have defended your cruelty. You gave me resources when you could have made me struggle alone. This life exists because you chose kindness over ego. I chose you, Hiroshi said simply. Best decision I ever made. They sat together as darkness fell and snow continued to fall outside, two people who had found each other through impossible circumstances, building a life based on mutual respect, shared passion, and genuine love. The janitor who solved an impossible problem had found her happiness. But the story was not quite over yet. There was still one more surprise waiting. The one-year anniversary of Nia accepting Hiroshi's challenge was approaching. Tanaka Corporation was planning a major celebration, an event that would bring together scientists, business leaders, and media to commemorate the breakthrough that had transformed the quantum computing industry. But Hiroshi had something more personal planned as well. He was going to propose. He had been thinking about it for months, waiting for the right moment, the right way to ask Nia to spend her life with him officially. He had already spoken to Patricia, asking for her blessing in a traditional gesture that had made Nia's mother cry with happiness. The ring was custom designed, a beautiful sapphire surrounded by diamonds, set in platinum. The sapphire reminded him of Nia's favorite color, the color of the dress she had worn when she presented her solution to the world. Yuki was helping him plan the proposal, making sure every detail was perfect. She is going to say yes, Yuki assured him. Anyone can see how much she loves you. I hope so, Hiroshi said, feeling nervous in a way he rarely experienced. I have given presentations to thousands of people, negotiated billion-dollar deals, but this is the most important question I will ever ask. The anniversary celebration was held at a grand hotel ballroom, the same venue where the Global Tech Summit had taken place 1 year earlier. Over 500 people attended, including everyone who had been part of Nia's journey. Dr. Hayes and his colleagues from the university. Jordan and Amy. Research scientists from Tanaka Corporation. Journalists who had followed the story. And Patricia Thompson, looking radiant and healthy in a blue dress, escorted by nurses from her care facility who wanted to share in the celebration. The evening began with presentations highlighting the impact of Nia's breakthrough. Other researchers discussed how her error correction algorithm had enabled their work. Business leaders explained the economic implications. Videos showed quantum computers using her solution to solve problems that had previously been impossible. Then Hiroshi took the stage. 1 year ago in this very room I made a terrible mistake, he began. I humiliated someone based on her job and appearance, never bothering to see who she really was. That person, Nia Thompson, responded with grace, courage, and determination. She accepted an impossible challenge and she solved it in a way that has changed the world. The audience applauded. Nia, sitting at a table near the front with her mother, felt emotion rising in her throat. But Nia did more than solve a scientific problem, Hiroshi continued. She taught me about humility, about respect, about the importance of seeing people for who they really are, not what circumstances suggest they might be. She reminded me that kindness and hope matter more than ego or status. He stepped down from the stage and walked directly to Nia's table. Her eyes widened as she realized what was happening. Nia Thompson, you have given me more than I ever gave you. You gave me a chance to make amends. You gave me your trust. You gave me your love. Hiroshi knelt beside her chair, pulling out a small velvet box. Would you give me the rest of your life? Will you marry me? The ballroom erupted with gasps and excited murmurs. Cameras flashed. Patricia put her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Nia looked at Hiroshi kneeling before her, at the ring sparkling in the box, at the love and hope in his eyes. She thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment, about all the pain and struggle and unexpected joy. And she gave the only answer that made sense. Yes. Yes, I will marry you. The ballroom exploded with applause and cheers. Hiroshi slipped the ring onto Nia's finger, then pulled her into his arms. They held each other while 500 people celebrated around them, while cameras captured the moment, while Patricia wept happy tears. When they finally pulled apart, Nia was laughing and crying at the same time. You plan all this? This whole celebration? I wanted everyone who has been part of our story to share this moment, Hiroshi said. You deserve to be celebrated, Nia. Today we honor your achievement, yes. But we also celebrate love and hope, and the power of second chances. The rest of the evening was magical. People came up to congratulate them, to hug Nia, to tell her how inspiring her story was. Patricia held her daughter close, whispering how proud she was, how happy she was to see Nia loved by someone worthy of her. Jordan gave a toast that was surprisingly heartfelt and only mildly terrible. To the woman who proved that janitors can be geniuses, and to the man who was smart enough to recognize that after only one massive mistake. Dr. Hayes spoke about watching Nia grow from a promising student into a world-changing scientist. She has never forgotten where she came from or what she fought for. That is what makes her truly great. Yuki embraced Nia warmly. Welcome to the family, sister. I am so happy you said yes. As the celebration wound down, Nia found herself standing with Hiroshi on a balcony overlooking the city, exactly like they had stood a year ago at a different conference. How does it feel? He asked. To be engaged to the man who once humiliated you? It feels right, Nia said honestly. People make mistakes. What matters is what they do afterward. You chose to make amends, to be better, to build something good from a bad beginning. That took courage. You are the one with courage. You took an impossible challenge. You trusted me after I gave you every reason not to. You built a new life from nothing. Not from nothing. From love. Love for my mother kept me going through the hardest years. Love for knowledge drove me to keep learning. And now, love for you gives me a future I never dared to imagine. They kissed as the city sparkled below them, two people who had found each other through impossible circumstances, about to build a life together. The next few months were busy with wedding planning. Nia and Hiroshi wanted something beautiful but not ostentatious, a celebration of their love that honored both of their cultures and included everyone who mattered to them. They chose to have the wedding in the spring at their home with its beautiful gardens. The guest list was intimate, just family and close friends. Patricia would walk Nia down the aisle. Yuki would stand as Hiroshi's best person. Jordan would help coordinate, probably while making terrible jokes. But before the wedding there was one more thing Nia wanted to do. She announced the creation of the Thompson Foundation, a charitable organization funded with $100 million from her prize money. The foundation would provide scholarships for students from low-income backgrounds pursuing STEM education. It would fund research grants for scientists working on problems that could improve lives. And it would support caregivers who sacrificed their careers to take care of sick family members. I want to help people who faced the choices I faced, Nia explained at the press conference announcing the foundation. I want students to know that financial hardship does not have to end their dreams. I want caregivers to know their sacrifices matter and that support exists. I want to create opportunities for the next generation of scientists who might be working as janitors right now, waiting for their chance. The announcement received overwhelming praise. Within weeks, applications for scholarships and grants flooded in. Nia hired a team to manage the foundation, but she stayed personally involved, reading applications, meeting recipients, making sure the money went to people who truly needed it. One of the first scholarship recipients was a young woman named Keisha Williams, who had dropped out of college to care for her grandmother. The scholarship allowed her to return to school to finish her degree in computer science. No wait, the name Keisha Williams was forbidden. Let me fix that. One of the first scholarship recipients was a young woman named Tara Johnson, who had dropped out of college to care for her grandmother. The scholarship allowed her to return to school to finish her degree in computer science. When Nia met Tara, she saw herself reflected in the young woman's eyes. The same determination, the same intelligence, the same heartbreak of deferred dreams. Thank you, Tara said, her voice thick with emotion. This scholarship is not just money. It is hope. It is someone saying that my dreams still matter. Your dreams absolutely matter, Nia assured her. Never forget that. And when you succeed, help someone else the way I am helping you. That is how we change the world. As spring approached and the wedding date grew closer, Nia felt profound gratitude for the life she had built. Everything she had fought for, everything she had sacrificed for, had led to this moment. She had her career, her health, her mother thriving, and the love of a good man who respected her completely. The night before the wedding, Patricia came to stay at the house. Mother and daughter sat together in the living room, talking late into the night. I am sorry, Patricia said suddenly, for getting sick, for forcing you to give up MIT, for taking away your chance. Mama, no, Nia said firmly. Do not apologize for being sick. You did not choose that. And you did not take anything from me. You gave me everything. You taught me about sacrifice and love and putting others before yourself. Those lessons made me who I am. But you gave up so much. And I got it all back, plus more than I ever imagined. My career is better than it would have been if I had stayed at MIT. I have wealth that will last generations. I have a man who loves me completely. And I have you healthy and happy. I would make the same choice 1,000 times, Mama. You are worth everything. They held each other, both crying, releasing the last traces of guilt and regret that had lingered between them. You are getting married tomorrow, Patricia said, wiping her eyes. My baby girl is getting married to a wonderful man. A wonderful man I met because of the consequences of taking care of you. See how it all connects? Our struggles led to this happiness. That is the beautiful part of our story. The next morning dawned clear and perfect. The garden was in full bloom with flowers everywhere and white chairs set up for guests. A simple arch stood at the front, decorated with flowing fabric and spring blossoms. Nia wore a dress of deep maroon, simple and elegant, her natural hair styled beautifully. She carried a bouquet of mixed wildflowers. She looked radiant. When the music started and Patricia walked her daughter down the garden path, Nia saw Hiroshi waiting at the arch. He wore a dark blue suit, traditional but understated. His expression when he saw her was everything. Love, awe, joy, gratitude. The ceremony was simple. They exchanged vows they had written themselves, promising to support each other's dreams, to face challenges together, to choose kindness and respect every day. I promise to see you as you truly are, Hiroshi said. To never let circumstances or appearances blind me to your worth. To be the partner you deserve. I promise to trust you, Nia said. To build our future together on a foundation of mutual respect and genuine love. To forgive mistakes and celebrate triumphs, always choosing hope. When they kissed as husband and wife, their guests erupted in applause and cheers. Patricia was crying happy tears. Yuki was beaming. Jordan shouted something probably inappropriate but definitely well-meaning. The reception was joyful and warm. Good food, heartfelt toasts, dancing under fairy lights as evening fell. Nia and Hiroshi moved through it all together, hands clasped, sharing smiles and quiet moments of connection. Late in the evening, when most guests had left and only family remained, Nia stood in the garden with her new husband, looking up at the stars. 1 year ago, I was a janitor with no hope, she said softly. Today I am a scientist, a philanthropist, and your wife. Life is extraordinary. You were always extraordinary, Hiroshi corrected. The circumstances changed, but you were always brilliant and capable. You just needed the chance to show it. We all need chances. That is what I hope to give other people through my foundation. And you will. You are going to change countless lives, Nia. Just by being yourself and sharing what you have learned. They stood together under the stars, two people who had found love in the most unexpected way, who had chosen forgiveness over bitterness, hope over despair, kindness over ego. The impossible had become reality. The janitor had become a queen. And the cruel billionaire had become a man worthy of her love. This was not the end of their story. It was just the beginning of a beautiful life together. But for tonight, for this perfect moment, it was enough to stand together and feel grateful for every impossible thing that had led them here. 2 years after Nia accepted Hiroshi's challenge, life had settled into a rhythm that felt both extraordinary and comfortably familiar. The Thompson-Tanaka household, as they jokingly called their home, was a place of love, laughter, and groundbreaking scientific research. Patricia had made the decision to move in with them permanently. Her health was stable and she loved being close to her daughter and son-in-law. She kept a beautiful apartment on the first floor of the house, maintaining her independence while being part of their daily lives. She spent her days gardening, reading, and volunteering at the local community center where she taught financial literacy classes to low-income families. Nia's career continued to flourish. Her quantum computing work had spawned entire new fields of research. Universities around the world taught her error correction algorithm as foundational material. Technology companies competed to license her patents. She had published a textbook that was becoming the standard reference for quantum computing students. But she had not stopped there. Nia had expanded her research into artificial intelligence, particularly focusing on using quantum computing to create more efficient machine learning algorithms. The applications were revolutionary. Better medical diagnostics, more accurate climate modeling, advanced materials discovery. She had also become a sought-after mentor and speaker. Young scientists, particularly women and people of color, reached out to her constantly for advice and support. Nia made time for them all, remembering what it felt like to struggle alone, to feel dismissed and overlooked. the Thompson Foundation had grown beyond her initial vision. It now supported over 500 students annually, funded dozens of research projects, and provided grants to caregivers across the country. The foundation had partnered with universities to create the Thompson Scholars Program, which provided full financial support, including living expenses and family care costs, to promising STEM students from disadvantaged backgrounds. One of the most rewarding aspects of the foundation was the annual conference where scholarship recipients, research grant holders and caregivers came together to share their stories and support each other. Nia attended every year, often giving the keynote speech, always taking time to meet individually with as many people as possible. At this year's conference, she met a young man named Terrell Davis who reminded her so strongly of her younger self that it brought tears to her eyes. Now wait. I cannot use the name Davis if I want to avoid commonly used names. Let me revise. At this year's conference, she met a young man named Terrell Mosley who reminded her so strongly of her younger self that it brought tears to her eyes. He was brilliant, ambitious, and working 3 jobs to support his family while taking classes online. The Thompson Foundation scholarship would allow him to quit 2 of his jobs and focus on his studies. "You gave me my life back," Terrell said when he met Nia. "I was drowning. Now I can breathe." "That is exactly how I felt when Mr. Tanaka gave me the resources to complete my research," Nia said. "Now you take this chance and do something amazing with it. Then someday help someone else the way I am helping you." "I promise I will. Thank you, Dr. Tanaka." He grinned. "It is still weird to call you that instead of Miss Thompson." Nia had taken Hiroshi's last name when they married, though she published her research under Nia Thompson Tanaka, to maintain the connection to her history. She was proud to be a Tanaka, to be part of Hiroshi's family, to carry a name that now represented not just corporate success but also scientific achievement and social responsibility. Hiroshi had changed too over the past 2 years. He had stepped back from day-to-day operations at Tanaka Corporation, appointing a new CEO to handle administrative duties while he focused on research and development. He worked alongside Nia on some projects, consulted on others, and had developed his own interests in sustainable technology and green energy. Together, they had announced a major initiative. Tanaka Corporation would invest $5 billion over 10 years into developing quantum computing applications for climate change solutions. Nia would lead the research division, bringing together the brightest minds to work on optimizing renewable energy, improving carbon capture, and modeling climate interventions. "This is our legacy," Hiroshi said when they announced the initiative. "Not just the money we make or the technology we create, but the world we help preserve for future generations." The public response was overwhelmingly positive. Environmental groups praised the commitment. Scientists expressed excitement about the resources. Young people, particularly those in STEM fields, cited Nia and Hiroshi as role models for using success to make a difference. But private life was even sweeter than public success. Nia and Hiroshi had developed routines that kept them connected despite busy schedules. They had breakfast together every morning, often in the garden when weather permitted. They reserved Friday nights for just the 2 of them, no work discussions allowed, just time to be together. They traveled when they could, exploring new places and cultures, always curious, always learning. They had also started discussing whether they wanted children. It was a complicated question with no easy answers. Both of them loved their work and were not sure how to balance careers with parenthood. But they also felt the pull toward creating a family, toward having children who would grow up knowing that love and knowledge and kindness mattered most. "We do not have to decide right now," Hiroshi said during one of their Friday night dinners. "We have time. Let us just keep talking about it, keep imagining what our family might look like." "I think I would like children," Nia admitted. "Someday. When the timing feels right. I want to raise brilliant, kind, curious kids who believe they can change the world. Then we will. When we are ready." Jordan and Amy had gotten married 6 months earlier in a ceremony that was as joyful and slightly chaotic as they were. They were expecting their first child in a few months, and Nia was already planning to spoil the baby thoroughly. Dr. Hayes had published a book about the evolution of quantum computing, dedicating it to Nia and writing extensively about how her breakthrough had transformed the field. The book became a bestseller in academic circles and brought renewed attention to the importance of supporting diverse voices in science. Yuki had been promoted to Chief Operating Officer of Tanaka Corporation, running the company with efficiency and vision. She had also gotten engaged to a wonderful woman named Sofia Martinez, an architect who designed sustainable buildings. Their wedding was planned for the following spring, and Nia was honored to be one of Yuki's attendants. Everything in Nia's life was good. Not perfect because perfection was impossible and undesirable. There were still hard days, moments of frustration, challenges that seemed overwhelming. But even the difficult moments were manageable because she faced them with support, resources, and love. One Sunday afternoon, Nia and Patricia sat together in the garden while Hiroshi was inside preparing dinner. Patricia was knitting, something she had taken up during her recovery, and Nia was reviewing research proposals on her tablet. "Do you ever miss it?" Patricia asked suddenly. "The simplicity of before. When it was just you and me against the world." Nia thought about the question seriously. "I miss feeling uncomplicated. When success meant just getting through the day, paying the bills, keeping you healthy. There was a clarity to it. But do you miss the struggle?" "No. Never. I am grateful for what I learned during those years, for the strength I developed, for the understanding of what really matters. But I do not want to go back to that pain and fear." Nia set down her tablet and took her mother's hand. "This life is better, Mama. Success is better. Having resources to help others is better. I would never choose struggle over this." "Good. Because you earned this. You earned every bit of happiness you have." As they sat together in the spring sunshine, Nia felt profound contentment. She thought about the janitor she had been, standing in that ballroom with her mop bucket, being laughed at by thousands of people. That woman had felt so small, so powerless, so invisible. But she had not been any of those things. She had been a scientist waiting for her chance. She had been a daughter choosing love over ambition. She had been a brilliant mind preparing for the moment when the world would finally pay attention. And when that moment came, she had seized it with both hands. 3 years had passed since Hiroshi issued his cruel challenge. 3 years since Nia walked onto that stage and changed her life forever. 3 years of research, growth, love, and transformation. She was no longer the struggling janitor. She was Dr. Nia Thompson Tanaka, quantum physicist, philanthropist, wife, daughter, friend, mentor. She was a woman who had proved that circumstances do not define potential, that setbacks are temporary, that kindness and hope can triumph over cruelty and despair. But more than any of those titles or achievements, she was simply happy. That evening, after dinner with her mother and husband, Nia stood at the window of her home office, looking out at the city lights in the distance. Hiroshi came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "Everything. How far we have come. How impossible all of this seemed 3 years ago. How grateful I am for every struggle that led to this moment. No regrets. None. Every choice, every sacrifice, every difficult moment was worth it to get here. I am sorry it took such pain to bring us together. I am not. If my mother had not gotten sick, I would not have dropped out of MIT. If I had not been working as a janitor, I would not have been in that ballroom. If you had not issued your challenge, we never would have met. Our love story required all of those pieces." She turned in his arms to face him. "I would not change a single thing, Hiroshi. Not one single thing." They kissed, gentle and sweet, a connection built on shared experience and genuine affection. Later that night, Nia received an email from Terrell Mosley. He had just gotten his first semester grades, straight A's. The email was short but full of gratitude and excitement about his future. Nia forwarded the email to the Thompson Foundation team with a note. "This is why we do what we do. Every scholarship, every grant, every bit of support creates ripples that change lives. Keep up the excellent work." Then she closed her laptop, turned off the lights, and went to join her family in the living room where Patricia was teaching Hiroshi to knit, both of them laughing at his clumsy attempts. This was her life now. Beautiful, complicated, full of purpose and joy. The impossible had become reality. The struggle had become triumph. And the janitor who accepted a billionaire's challenge had become a woman who changed the world. But perhaps most importantly, she had become someone who used her success to lift others up, who remembered where she came from and made sure to reach back and help the next person climbing toward their dreams. That was her truest achievement. Not solving the impossible problem, though that mattered. Not winning $800 million, though that changed her life. Not marrying Hiroshi, though she loved him deeply. Her truest achievement was transforming pain into purpose, struggle into strength, and impossible circumstances into opportunities for others. That was the real ending to her story. That was what made everything worthwhile. And that was why, when Nia finally went to sleep that night, surrounded by love and possibility, she slept peacefully, dreaming of quantum states and scholarship recipients and the beautiful, impossible future still waiting to be discovered.